Hello and welcome to Inspect, a show about web design and development. My name is Ajay, and with me, as usual, is Kay. How you doing, Kay?
I'm good, man. How are you? You alright?
Yeah, I'm good. Feeling the heat, and it's been quite hot the past couple of days.
Yeah, it's been lovely.
Yeah, this room that I'm in, I haven't got a fan in here yet. I've got a heater for winter, but I need to get a fan now for summer. So a bit of an
Yeah,
oversight.
gonna need that. Yeah, I'm up in the loft and we've only got three windows up here. Give us a breeze, but yeah, it's not good enough.
Yeah, it always gets hot in the loft, doesn't it?
Yeah, need a gadget for cool air.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Hold your horses. Yeah, so we mentioned last episode, obviously we don't know what the order is of these, but they may change. But we mentioned last episode that your birthday was coming up, and it's obviously come and gone now, so happy belated birthday for that.
Oh, thank you for that.
And yeah, and we decided that we'd talk about some gadgets and what we've got on our desks and what we like and wish lists and all that sort of stuff, all the good stuff. So that's what today's episode is going to be about. It's about our setups, yeah, things that we're looking forward to buying one day, and just generally what we're interested in tech wise. So split it up into a few different categories. Your actual desk, what you have on your desk, what sort of software you use on a daily basis, any sort of gadgets that you use often. We could leave off things like phones and tablets, which are fairly common, I suppose. And then the podcasting gear that we use, if there's anything specific. My setup's fairly simple, so I won't have a lot there. And then, I've got this section for like offline tools, just physical products that you use, stuff like pens and papers and notebooks and things like that. So, if you want to kick it off, we can go for the desk first and just tell us a little bit about what's on your desk and what you're using.
Okay, well, so I operate on two desks, one at home and the other one in the office. So the office one's fairly, it's a standard. I've got a Dell 24-inch monitor, and I'm using like a wireless Apple keyboard and a wireless mouse, which isn't an Apple one. It's just like a standard wireless mouse. So that's the general setup in the office. But at home, I've got more of a setup here, seeing that was here before I went into the office. So here I've got, I'm working off the MacBook Pro, which is a late one, 2013. And I've got the other Dell 24-inch monitor here on the desk. And I'm using an Omoton laptop stand, a vertical stand.
Yeah, I've got the same one actually.
Yeah, they're pretty good. It took me a while to find the one that was going to look good and fit correctly and do what it's meant to do basically. So I was going to go for one of the I forgot the name now, but the fully integrated stand which you plug your laptop into, and it sort of like keeps the wires all tidy and it's all connected.
Is that the Henge?
That's the one, Henge Dock. Yeah, but for 200 quid.
Yeah,
I thought, is it really worth it?
Big investment, isn't it? Especially if you're going to be moving around a lot and you're going to be plugging it in and out a lot. Eventually, those connections are going to wear out over time. It's quite a hefty bill to replace.
Yeah, so I decided against that and just went with a standard Omoton stand, which is pretty good. I like it. It's nice and weighty, and it's a snug fit as well. And that's the key thing for me. I've got a desktop mobile phone charger, a wireless one, which is pretty handy. Yeah, so they're pretty cool. Just leave your phone on it, and it will just charge away.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a wireless desktop LED lamp, so it's like a touch sensitive desk lamp. It took me a while to find this one.
You just said a wireless desktop lamp.
Yeah, it's wireless.
Oh, battery powered.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's got an onboard one, hasn't it? But yeah, it doesn't need to be plugged in by
Okay.
AC adapters or anything like that. So, and it lasts pretty long as well. So it's pretty cool. The light that comes off, it's nice and clear, and it's nice. So I've got one of them. What else have I got on my desk? That's about it, really. No mat or anything like that. I've got one in the office, which is like a standard office mat. It's pretty big, actually. It's massive. And everything kind of sits on it. That's generally my sort of like setup that I've got here.
Okay, yeah, fairly similar to mine because yeah, I've also got the MacBook. So I've got the 2018 MacBook. It's provided by work, so it's fairly recent. I've also got the Dell 20. Mine's a 25 inches, a 2515H monitor. It's a good monitor. I like it. You know, you can raise it up and down. It's not 4K, but it's pretty high def. I don't know the exact like scaling of it or anything like that, but you know, I like the definition of it because then I can have when I've got my Chrome window open, I can have my DevTools open fairly wide, which is how I like to see it. It's almost about a third of the screen I can have my DevTools open, and then the rest of the web page is off to the side. And then also with the actual, when I'm using VS Code, I can have a terminal, the built-in terminal open over to the side of VS Code as well, where it doesn't take up too much room of the actual code environment. So yeah, I think it's a good size. I'm not that interested in getting a bigger one. I definitely don't need a second screen, but this one's kind of at its limit though.
Is it an IPS?
IPS, I'll have to check that. It's the Dell U2515H. I'm not too sure if it is a IPS model. So it's a 2560 by 1440 resolution. So yeah, definitely not 4K. So 2K-ish. It's good. It's bright. It's the bezel's fairly minimal. The stand is quite nice, and you know it's got good cable management. It's got plenty of inputs as well. It's got DisplayPort 2, HDMI, USB input, USB output as well. So it's pretty good. What else on my desk? I've got like same as you. I've got the Omoton vertical stand. I've got the double stand, so it's got 2 slots.
Okay.
The reason for that is occasionally I charge the tablet in there as well. Just stick the tablet in. Because I've got my work laptop and I've got my own personal laptop, I've got the option of slotting them both in there and just swapping out the cable, which goes to my monitor, so I can run both laptops off one. But I very rarely use the laptop on this desk now. That one's normally that's like the floating one, the one that moves around the house and normally stays on the lap.
Yeah.
So yeah, normally I use the second slot for putting work that I'm currently working on. So just put papers in there and stuff like that. So use it as a bit of a letter rack as well.
Yeah.
And then because it is vertical, obviously it's closed. I've got a single cable coming out, which is going to a Thunderbolt 3 dock. It's an iTech Thunderbolt 3 dock. I can't remember where the company's from. It's iTech.cz or something like that. So I don't know, what country is CZ? Do you know?
CZ, Czech Republic, maybe?
Yeah, I think it is. So that's where it's from, Czech Republic. It's pretty good. It's got dual 4K screens, or you can run one 5K screen. That's what it is.
Cool.
And then it's got like Ethernet and USB 3s and all that. So everything's plugged into that. Everything on the desk. My microphone, my webcam, USB like cables and stuff like that, and then one cable from there into the MacBook. So it's really nice. Yeah, it took me a while to choose that one. There's not many on the market that support Thunderbolt 3, and they're quite expensive. This one was around about £160, I think it was.
Right.
But it does the job quite nicely. You have to install some dodgy drivers with it. That's the only downside. You have to install this thing called DisplayLink, and that was a bit of work getting that set up. And it also causes a slight glitch with the MacBook, where when you wake the MacBook after it's gone to sleep, the audio balance shifts to one side.
Oh, okay.
So it gets a bit annoying. You have to either manually shift it back. But I found this, I tweeted about it, and someone suggested this little desktop application which constantly checks if your balance is centered, and if it's not, it just recenters it. So
that's clever, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's good. It just runs in the background. It doesn't have an icon in your dock or in your menu bar or anything, and it's just constantly just polling for your audio balance, and it just recenters it. So it does it like, because whenever it goes into sleep, it goes off balance. So every day is recentering about 5-6 times at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really handy. Yeah, and then like Apple keyboard, wireless keyboard and mouse. But then I have got a mat on my desk. I've got a it's called BUBM, bubmcase.com. It's like a leather, double-sided sort of leather mat. So I've got a blue one. It's like a navy blue on one side and then like a mustard yellow on the other side. And the reason I got that is because my desk, I built my desk myself. I got a piece of oak worktop and then sanded it down, stained it and everything. So I just wanted to protect that surface a bit more.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's the desk. I took a nice picture of my desk actually recently on Instagram, so I'll stick that in the show notes. You should take one of yours as well, and then we can put those both in.
Cool.
All right, cool. Next on the list is, do you want to go for software next, or keep that for later? I suppose we could go over the podcasting gear, because that's all on our desk as well. So.
Yeah, so like I'm just podcasting on the laptop using Zoom to record with yourself. Otherwise, I'm using the Anchor app on my phone, which is pretty cool. It does everything you need to do. You can edit within the app as well. You can invite other Anchor users onto your show directly through the app, which is a really handy feature. So
I still need to look into Anchor and see whether it's worth moving this podcast onto it. Because at the moment, the way it's being hosted at the moment is the files are on AWS.
Yeah.
And then the website is just a Jekyll static site.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of work, because you need to, when you're creating your actual XML file, the XML feed, there's very specific things you have to put in for the episode. You need to put in, obviously, the episode number, the title, description, but then you also need to put in the length of the episode in bits.
Right.
So you need to go and look at the file and see what's the length in bits, and then you have to add that in. So there's a few hoops to jump through if you're doing it all manually. So I will definitely be looking at Anchor.
Take a look at it, because you can actually download the audio files as well, and yeah, you could pull them into your editing software.
Yeah, by the time this episode's out, it might already be on Anchor. Who knows?
There you go. Yeah, cool. So yeah, using that, and I've got a Rode lapel mic somewhere. So I bought that last year. I need to find where I've put it. I haven't even opened it. But the desktop one that I've just got hold of is a Trust desktop microphone. The Mantis. It's like a gaming and podcasting microphone. It's pretty solid. USB one. It looks good as well.
Yeah, from what I can see of it, obviously on the video, it looks nice. Yeah.
So yeah, it does the trick, and that's about it really. That's that's what I'm using.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, does it, to do a podcast? So I've got a Blue Yeti microphone, which is a USB one as well. It's pretty good. It's I've got it mounted on a boom arm, so it's raised up off my desk, and I can sort of push it away from me when I'm not using it. The thing I like about this mic, it's got a headphone output on the mic.
Oh, okay.
So I can hear, I can get quite a good representation of my record levels, because I'm not processing my audio through anything.
Right.
What I'm hearing in my headphones is coming directly from the mic. But also the mic acts as a sound card, so I can hear you as well via the same output. So it's got volume control on the mic for my headphones, and then it's got a record levels control for the actual input on there as well. So it's good. I think it's designed with podcasting in mind, because it's got a stereo feature as well, where you can flick the switch and you can record left and right channels independently from the front and the back of the mic. So you can sort of stand it up in between two people and record two channels.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you'll get some sound leakage. I'm sure it won't be perfect, but they've thought about that feature. Yeah, which is pretty good. And then speakers, I've got some Alesis Elevate 3 speakers on my desk.
Yeah.
So they're what I use generally for day-to-day music. I use some Beats Solo wireless headphones. Although they're wireless, I do tend to keep them wired most of the time when I'm at my desk, because it's just, there's no point in just using up battery for no reason. Just keep them plugged in. And for editing and for recording, we're using Zoom for the video chat, which is good because it records the call as well, and it separates the audio from your side and my side, which is handy. And then, we're obviously experimenting with some audio recording. So we're also recording independently on both sides and then merging those together later during the edit, which is all done in Logic. I did a little bit of editing for a couple of episodes in GarageBand.
Yeah.
But the tools in GarageBand are just a bit limited. The main one that's missing is a feature called Strip Silence, which is in Logic but not in GarageBand. And it basically scans your audio file, and it looks for whatever your threshold is. It looks for any point that's silent in the file and just strips it out. But it doesn't move. So if it takes out some silence from seconds between 3 and 10, from 10 onwards, it doesn't move that piece of audio, then it keeps it where it is.
Right, okay.
So for podcasting, it's great because any silence that's on my side, or any sort of low noises, like if I'm breathing or coughing or anything like that, it just strips it all out.
Nice.
So we should get a nice clean audio. Yeah. So that was the reason I used Logic. And it's pretty good, you know. It's fairly quick to edit a podcast with it. So I'm happy with it. So does that lead on to software?
Yeah, I think we can hit the software. Let's go through what I'm using.
What's in your dock? What are you using every day?
Oh, God. Everything and anything.
You one of those that's got everything in the dock, you never remove things?
Nah, the only essentials are in the dock. Everything else is kind of like there but not there, if you know what I mean.
I find it really frustrating when people have, like, when you look at colleagues' laptops or whatever, and they've got all the stock apps still in their dock, the ones that it comes with, and nothing's been customized, and you end up with this tiny dock which spans the full length of the screen. I was like,
yeah, that's ridiculous.
Just let me sort it out for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've got let me start with the web stuff, web development stuff. So I've got, where should we start with? So let's just start with Sketch. So I'm using the Sketch app to do all my design work, wireframes, detailed front-end designs, things like that. I'm also using Photoshop, but Photoshop is mainly being used for creating web graphics and, you know, more detailed banners and stuff, you know, with which uses like photography or things like that. And I've got Affinity Designer, which I'm using for vector illustrations, which I find better than Sketch when it comes down to manipulating vector graphics. It's just so much easier using the Bezier curve and those tools within Affinity, especially with the latest update.
How does Affinity Designer compare to Illustrator? How would you... Is it on par?
I was a big fan of Illustrator. I was using it for everything, like literally all kinds of design work, branding, logos, and creating icons and stuff. And I just thought to myself, you know, this is probably the best thing out there for vector design and working with like SVG and things like that. But, you know, I started thinking about it and I thought, you know, I'm just really paying for this tool that I'm not really using as much as I was using, right? So when I first started using it, I was using it a lot. And then slowly but surely, it was one of these things that I could see myself not really using that much. And I was literally opening it probably once a month, if that, purely because I was sent an AI file, right? So I needed it to open it. But then I looked into Affinity Designer and I got hold of a trial, and it handles all file types. So it just kind of, you know, made it easier. And you just pay a one-off fee for it. You don't pay a monthly subscription. But balancing the two, when you look at them, when you're weighing it up, I think Illustrator is the sort of like, you know, polished product. Whereas Affinity is kind of lacking a few, you know, minor things which would like make it really, really good. So, but it's thereabouts. Like if you're using Illustrator, you could easily just carry on using Affinity and you wouldn't really have any, you know, major headaches. But, you know, for someone like you who relies on, you know, like your shortcuts and things like that, you might get wound up by the fact that Affinity probably hasn't got those.
Well, I was just about to say, like, I haven't used Affinity Designer, but I've used Affinity Photo, as a replacement for Photoshop. That was the initial plan. Because similar to you, once I started using Sketch over the past year and a half or so, my reliance on Photoshop just massively dropped. And the only time I really open Photoshop now is when I'm trying to access old design files that I've created in the past, or if someone sends me something. And like you said, if I need to manipulate a photo for some reason, like, you know, obviously Photoshop for manipulating photos is number one, really. So then, but the cost didn't justify my use, so I tried Affinity Photo as well. Again, it's fairly affordable. I think it was about £35 when I purchased it from iTunes.
Yeah.
And I liked it. It was good. But like you said, you know, things like shortcuts, I had this workflow that I was so used to with Photoshop. I had a few custom keyboard shortcuts set up, but all the default ones. I just had all this like muscle memory from the past 10 years or so that I just found it really hard to switch. So luckily, you know, I get a Photoshop license through work, but I've literally only just got Photoshop from the whole of the Creative Suite installed. I don't really use anything else now. I just do all my vector stuff, all my UI work is all done in Sketch, and I literally use Photoshop just for those raster image, like manipulating those. But yeah, so it's very hard to get away from Photoshop when you've been using it for so long. I found it really difficult to make the full switch. And yeah, there's things that Affinity Photo didn't have that Photoshop has got. Yeah, things like the content aware stuff in Photoshop. I don't think Affinity's got that. I mean, I haven't really used Affinity much recently, so maybe it has. But, you know, it's about time there was a good, solid Photoshop competitor.
Yeah. I did use Affinity Photo as well. And then I thought about it, I thought I can't really make the jump. So I kept Photoshop, got rid of Illustrator, and got Infinity Designer. Because with Affinity Designer, you can, you know, do your front ends in there as well. So it's got all the, you know, set up like Sketch has. So you can do both. But I'm finding my go-to application for any front end design and user interface stuff is Sketch, and everything's done in there. So going on from that, I'm using InVision to do prototyping. I've got the Craft plugin for Sketch as well, which is a brilliant little plugin to have. That just helps you to you know, fill in content, create duplicate elements and items and things like that. It's just a really powerful thing that I think anyone who's a front end designer should have with Sketch.
Yeah, the duplicate content is pretty good for creating rows. But have you ever used XD?
I have used it. Yeah.
Their grid tool in XD is just amazing, and I just wish that Sketch would introduce that, because the Craft plugin, it does, although it creates that repeatable content, it's not fully what's the word, non-destructible. It's still it creates copies. They're not virtual copies, they're actual copies of the content.
The actual copies.
Whereas in XD, it creates all virtual copies, so you only ever need to edit the first one, and it updates across the whole grid. So, yeah, if you're listening to Sketch, you need to get on with that and introduce that feature.
It's like working with instances. It's like, it's the same principle. It's like, why can't you just utilize that concept behind it? You know, so you know what I mean. So little things like that, but you know, then it is a plugin as well. So I'm pretty sure they'll have that figured out soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a few others that I've used as well. Online software that was really popular, actually. It probably still is. I can't remember the name of it, but once I'll find it, we can probably put it in the notes. But similar to like XD.
Yeah, the main online one is probably Figma.
Yeah, there was another one though. I totally forgot the name, but it was really good. And I was using it for a while. I had about 5 or 6 projects that I actually designed using it. And it's got prototyping built into it as well. So I'll find the name and I'll add it to
Marvel? Marvel app?
No.
Marvel's kind of like InVision. But yeah, Figma is the other really real sort of big player in the market, but I don't really use Figma. I've tried it out a little bit, but I just feel a bit strange sort of designing in the browser. And I know they've got some desktop apps, but the desktop app is basically just a web web page in a wrapper. It's just an Electron app, isn't it? But yeah, quite happy with Sketch.
Yeah. So I think like moving on from the design tools, VS Code to write all my code. Using that, I'm very happy with that. I mean, I had a conversation with a guy that I was interviewing last week, and he's still using Sublime. And when I told him about VS Code, his mind was blown. He never heard of it.
What? Okay.
Yeah, and this guy's a really good developer. Like when I asked him about one of my questions to him was, what's your setup like? Your working environment when you're developing a website? And he's dropping all the names and everything. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. You're using Gulp and Node and things like that and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, that's pretty good. So what do you do your text editing in? And he said Sublime. And I was like, wow, he was still using Sublime. And I showed him VS Code and it blew his mind. It's
funny because I was a Sublime user as well, only up until a couple of years ago. And then there was like a point, I would say, around about 2 years ago, where VS Code just got massively overtaken. I don't know, they just really ramped up their efforts or something. Something must have happened, but it's like the whole industry switched to VS Code all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I think it was probably around the time when the Visual Studio for Mac came out, which was around the same time as well. So you could start doing like .NET Core on a Mac. I think a lot of people at that point started saying, "Oh, okay, you know, VS Code is sort of the light version of it as well, which allows you to, do front end work really well." And since then, not looked back really.
Yeah, it was your brother who actually told me about it. He sent me a link. He was sitting opposite me in the office, and he sent me a link. He said, "Download this, boy." So I clicked the link, downloaded it, and I've never looked back.
Yeah, it's good. You got yours customized quite a lot, or fairly bare bones?
Yeah, it's fairly customized. I've got like additional themes like I've downloaded, so I'm using a completely different style of theme, probably less conventional than most people are using. And I've got quite a few little sort of like add-ons or plugins in there as well. So
any favorites that you can think of?
I think can't really think of anything that's really up there. Like I do like the Bootstrap plugin as well. That's a real lifesaver. So when you're it auto completes your code basically. So when you're putting a class name or creating a grid or anything like that, it will just list everything that you're potentially going to choose, and it will kind of like fill it in for you. So that's a pretty powerful thing to use.
You could probably do an episode on all your VS Code plugins, because there's some quite good ones. I've got quite a long list of extensions. Some of them are just sort of sitting in the background doing something which I don't really realise that I've got them installed. But some of them I'm sort of quite actively use them for very specific things.
Yeah.
One of my favorites I think is called like auto close tag. There's auto close tag and there's auto rename tag as well. It's a shame there's not one that does both, but yeah, the auto rename tag is basically if you've got like let's say you've got a div with some text inside it and you think, oh, okay, no, that should really be a paragraph. You can just go to the opening tag and just rename div to P, and it automatically renames the closing tag as well.
Nice.
Which I think Sublime used to do that out of the box, but for some reason VS Code doesn't. And then there's auto close tag, which is, as you can imagine, it just automatically closes your tag when you hit a /.
Yeah.
So those two are although I don't sort of do anything specific to use them, they're just always running in the background, and they're quite essential ones for me.
Yeah, I think another one that I was using is, this one's like I don't know how many people actually use this or find it helpful, but just a doc type for a HTML document.
Oh yeah.
Just when you're starting a fresh HTML file.
Yeah, where you just put an exclamation mark and hit tab.
Yeah.
But that's built in because that's part of Emmet, which is now baked into VS Code.
That's it, yeah. And I remember it wasn't there before when I started using it, so I had this extension on there, and you've got different versions of it as well, so you can pull in various different kind of...
different doc types, yeah.
Yeah, different doc types and different sort of styles.
Yeah, the HTML5 one, HTML4 transitional one. And so on.
Yeah, that's pretty handy. That's I like using that one. And then you've also got your, your version control. It's all built into it as well, so that's all connected nicely to repositories and things like that. So it's very handy to have all of that, in one place.
Yeah, in terms of the VS Code Git features, I don't really use it as Git client. The main time I ever use it is if there's conflicts, and I use it as a diffing tool to fix merge conflicts. I just like the way that VS Code displays, the conflicting code in blue and green. It's very easy to sort of pick out the bits that you want to keep, and but otherwise I don't really use that. I use SourceTree for Git.
Yeah, same here. I use SourceTree. And I find myself sometimes I'm working away in some code or doing something, and then I start going through the motions of using it. So it happens from time to time, but then I got to remind myself, hang on a minute, we've got SourceTree running here, and it's there for a reason. So all the projects that I'm working on, they're all running on SourceTree. Got VS Code. What else was there? I think from a development perspective, I think that's all I'm really using. I mean, I think this morning I was just getting myself set up using like CodeKit, and I was trying to get Gulp running on a little local environment that I've just set up for a new project that I'm working on, and it wasn't working for the life of me. So I installed CodeKit, got that running pretty quick actually, and within 15 minutes I had it up and running. But for some reason it wasn't outputting the CSS file. So I was like trying to find the settings, and I'm pretty sure there's some settings there where you've got to figure out where your build code goes and everything goes. And
sorry, I haven't used CodeKit in a long time. I used it when it was version 2, I think. CodeKit 2, I think it's past version 2 now, isn't it?
Yeah, it has, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a couple of years since I used it.
I was using that, and then just this morning I was like, this is just going to become a bit of a pain. I don't really want to be spending hours trying to figure it out. So I switched it off, and so when I messaged you and you told me to, you gave me a command to put into the command line interface, and so I tried that out. It didn't really help, but I did pick up something on Stack Overflow and just ran a little command on there to just uninstall all the dependencies, reinstall, update, and just like that, the Grunt watch was working, and it was just like, oh my god, it just took 5 more minutes of searching for the answer, and I found a solution to it. So now that's all working nicely in a local environment.
Yeah,
brilliant.
That's the thing with npm. Sometimes you just need to just delete your node modules folder, or just like clear your npm cache and just restart, like do another npm install fresh, and things start working again. Yeah, it does trip over itself every now and then.
Yeah, I was following a Twitter conversation between some developers that I follow, and they're all agreeing that CodeKit's the way forward. Everyone's just having a massive headache over using npm, and so I don't know. I jumped on it. It didn't work for me. Well, I'm obviously missing something. So something in the setup isn't working correctly. But, it's got all your browser watch built in as well. So that's pretty clever. It does everything for you. So let's see what happens with that one. But yeah, that's about it really. That's all the development stuff that I'm using. Then apart from, you've got FTP as well. FileZilla is the one that I'm using. I think everyone uses that. Hardly ever use it, to be honest, but here and there it's I do need it. So if I'm uploading like a specific theme, or if I'm creating it's like a plugin or something that needs to be uploaded through FTP for safety purposes, then I'll use it. That's all the development side of things. And going into the digital art, because I do quite a lot of digital art, Photoshop, along with an Intuos tablet as well. So I'll do all my drawing on the tablet, and I do the drawing in either Photoshop, or I'll use Sketchbook, which is a really good tool. And the other one I just discovered is called Krita, really nice, really, really powerful digital art tool. There's loads of these available and they're all free. That's the crazy thing. They're all free to download and they're all open source and they're really fun to work with.
Do they all work well with the tablet?
Yeah, they all work really, really well with the tablet. They're all designed for that particular, like the Intuos tablet. So yeah, having a lot of fun with these tools. And I did used to do a lot of 3D work back in the day. I was using like 3D Studio Max and Cinema 4D, creating like 3D animations and things like that. And then I kind of just it just went off the boil. I didn't really have time to play around with that kind of stuff. But just recently I picked up Blender, which is an open source 3D modeling tool. And so I downloaded that, and it just blew my mind how far this stuff has come now. So for a free tool, it does pretty much everything the paid ones do. And, you get studio quality rendering from it as well. So I just started messing around with that, and it is a really, really, good tool to play around with, especially if you want to get into 3D. So yeah, that one. So that's all the digital art stuff, and then just general backups and just storage. I use Dropbox. I've got AWS set up as well for video files which are being played out on websites, things like that. But for all project management stuff, I'm using Trello, which we're using for the podcast to organize ourselves and organize our content. But I'm using Trello for quite a lot of stuff actually, projects, personal work, personal things, daily stuff that I'm doing, as well as managing my intern. We're using Trello to set up individual boards for clients, where we can go through social media management tasks and stuff like that. So yeah, Trello is probably the best one out there. I can't think of anything else that comes close to it. But I think we discussed it in a previous episode. But yeah, that's pretty much all the software that I'm using.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my list is fairly similar. Like I said, Sketch, VS Code. I use iTerm as my terminal. I sometimes use the VS Code built-in terminal, depending on the project, but most of the time I have iTerm running because a lot of the time I need to run two processes at once, and I just find it easier to open up two tabs in iTerm than create two tabs in the VS Code terminal. And then I've got a few aliases and shortcuts set up in iTerm as well to quickly change directories to certain folders and then run the start command, with little shortcuts and stuff like that. Like I mentioned, Logic is the main thing I use for sort of audio editing for the podcast. And then I've got a few little utilities which I use. I don't use a hell of a lot of apps on a daily basis. I suppose Todoist is the main one that I open almost every day. Well, I do open it every day. So I use that for managing tasks for personal projects and for work projects. It's quite good Todoist because it integrates with the Amazon Echo and with the Google Home. So me and my wife, we use it for some shared lists as well, like stuff to do around the house, stuff like shopping lists and stuff like that. So it's quite handy to be able to just shout out to your Alexa, add so-and-so to the shopping list, and then it's there, sync to our phones, sync to her phone, so if either of us are at the shop, so we can just carry on with that.
Handy.
And then I use it for work as well. One feature I like about Todoist is if someone sends you, let's say, an email and it's got a bunch of action points in there as bullet points, you can copy that whole list of bullet points, paste it into Todoist, and it adds them as individual items.
Right.
I've tried out so many of the other to-do list apps, and some of them do it, some of them don't do it very well, but Todoist seems to get it quite accurate.
That's cool.
Which is handy. Use Evernote to I use it as a way of digitizing all my documents. So I try not to keep too many paper documents around. Whenever I get an important letter through or something, I normally use the Evernote app to scan it and then archive it into there. Give it a meaningful name. Sometimes add tags to it as well. and put it all into folders. So I spent quite a lot of time, especially last year when I was moving house. I spent a lot of time organizing all my paperwork into Evernote.
Cool.
And then I use it just for like general note taking as well, day to day. And then another cool app I use is called Monosnap, which is for taking screenshots.
Oh, okay.
It's a bit more powerful than the built-in Mac screenshot tool, even though that's been updated recently, but it's still a bit more powerful. So it lets you take a screenshot, and then it gives you a preview of that. And then what you can do is you can get that preview out of the way, and then you can take another screenshot, and it puts it on the same canvas. So you can take multiple screenshots and build like a collage of those if you want.
Nice.
And then it's got like your usual sort of annotation tools. But the main thing that I like about it, it's got a blur tool on there as well, so you can blur out parts of the screen or completely black them out. So that's quite handy, and it's free as well. So you should check that out. I think that's pretty much it in terms of software. And there's a few little utilities that I need for work, like we use Slack and we use Microsoft Teams and Skype and stuff like that. And if I ever want to make like a quick note, which I don't plan on really saving, like if I'm just jotting down notes, then I use an app called Typora, which is it's just a text editor, but it supports Markdown as well, so you can take quite detailed notes if you want.
Yeah.
And then you can then export those as Markdown or as HTML or as plain text. But then
Right.
it doesn't have any storage, so it just creates a file.
Right.
So that's why if I'm jotting down something quickly, then I'll do it in Typora, and then if I want to keep that long term, then I'll paste that into Evernote or export it to Evernote if I can. And that's where I'll keep an archive of it. And that's essentially it. That's my doc. It's fairly lean, my doc is.
Yeah.
And I've also got spaces in my doc. So I've grouped my apps. So there is a way. I've got it on my website. I'll put a link to it in show notes on how to add spaces. So I've got a block of things which are like background apps. So I've got my calendar, mail. I've got this VPN client that we use for work, and they're things that you open and just don't need to look at very often. And then I've got my sort of design and development apps together, and then I've got like productivity ones and messaging and things like that. And then I've got like media related apps, so stuff like Spotify and messages and WhatsApp and things like that.
Cool.
Yeah, so I've got it all sort of organised.
Nice. Yeah. I need to figure out my organisation. It was organised like literally, was it last week? And just recently, I downloaded some drivers for the my Nikon DSLR, and it splurged out 4 or 5 new applications on there.
Yeah,
and it's just made a mess with some other additional bits and pieces. So yeah, I need to organise that stuff.
Yeah,
I need a new MacBook. Full stop.
That's what you need. Yeah, that's on your wish list, isn't it? Birthday wish list.
I was actually looking at the Razer. I was actually thinking about moving back to Windows.
God, don't talk to me. No, we're not going to hate on Windows. I used Windows a lot in my last job, but I haven't really got an opinion on Windows anymore. It's been far too long to that I used it. I haven't used it in a sort of professional sense in a long time.
I was just thinking about it because I really like the Razer laptop. It's an amazing piece of kit, and the finish on it's like a matte finish, and it's just like super fast. Like you just can't come close to it. But the pricing on it is just ridiculous. So
the pricing on a MacBook isn't exactly sane, is it?
It's about the same as a Mac, to be honest. But yeah, I was looking at it and I was thinking about it. That's I think, as we carry on this episode, that's on the wish list, I think.
Yeah. All right.
a gaming laptop. I think we can move on to that now because you've done all that.
Yeah. The only other thing I've got is like offline tools. So one thing I normally have on my desk is I've got a dot grid notebook.
They're cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Behance dot grid. I've had it for a while. I don't obviously use it very often because one thing I find with nice notebooks is I don't like to do messy work in them, so I don't use it very often.
Yeah.
So I have a second notebook for my rough work, which is just a pucker pad, but it's a squared one. It's not dots, it's squared paper. So I use that for my general day-to-day sort of note-taking. And then if I'm designing something, I'm actually not... Yeah, if I'm designing something which I'm potentially going to show to someone, show to a client or, present in a meeting, then I'll might use the dot grid book and do things a bit nicer in there.
Right.
Yeah, and I use this nice Grafgear 1000 pencil, which is, it's got a nice bit of weight to it, and depending on the type of lead you put in there, it's got a little wheel on the front, so you can put a label of the lead, the class of lead you've got in there. So if you've got several of these, you can have, you know, HB and 2B in there.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a quite nice pencil. I actually ordered it off eBay, I think, and I got it at bargain price. I got it for like £6 off eBay, because they're quite expensive otherwise. I think when I bought it, it was sort of around the £15 to £20 mark. It was quite expensive. A couple of years ago, I bought it. And I bought it off eBay, and I think it took about 8 to 9 weeks for it to arrive, because it came from China, and I was just like, getting so frustrated. I'm on my pencil, but
They probably made it for you.
yeah, well, they're pretty cheap now on Amazon, so I might just have to pick up a couple more.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to pick one up as well.
Yeah, they come in nice colours. Yeah, that is literally it. That's all the stuff that I use on a daily basis now. So yeah, we mentioned like wish list. So have you got? Do you use your Amazon wish list? Do you like add a lot of stuff to it?
Not really. No. I just drop hints here and there while the wife's in earshot.
Yeah, did any of them work for your birthday? Did you get anything nice?
Yeah. For the birthday, it worked. I was after the new game for the PlayStation 4, Days Gone.
Right.
And it's like a apocalyptic game, and you're like a guy who's from a biker gang, and there's a massive story around it. It's an open world game, and you got to travel around on your motorbike, discover new parts of this, you know, the land that you're on. And obviously, you know, you bump into these zombies and stuff, and animals like wolves and deer. You got to, like, you carry out tasks for different gangs and different like camps that are set up around the map. It's brilliant. And the whole story is he has to find his wife. Something's happened to her. They got separated during the evacuation, and the major arc of this game is to find out what happened to her. So I only just started playing it, and I've carried out so many like missions and stuff. I'm loving it. You can tell from my voice. I'm just absolutely loving this game. But I mentioned it to her because I've been waiting 3-4 years for this game to come out. And as soon as I found out it was out this year, I just dropped it in earshot of my wife while she was like cooking something, and it kind of stuck.
No, that's good. Good technique.
And yeah, I got it for my birthday, and I was well chuffed. So that was one of the things in the wish list that I managed to get hold of. But the other things that are on there, so like, yeah, a new MacBook Pro. Space grey. My brother's got one, and I actually do like the space grey colour. It does look really nice.
Yeah, I've got the space grey as well. It looks nice.
Yeah, so that's on the wish list. That Razer laptop is definitely on the wish list as well. But you know, what would I do with 2 laptops?
You get twice the amount of work done. That's what you do with 2 laptops.
Potentially one for each hand. So yeah, there's that. And I just found out recently you can do remote play on the PlayStation 4 on your laptop, and the Mac supports it as well. You just need a control pad.
Oh, okay.
And it's pretty powerful stuff. And moves on to the next thing that I want, and that's a really nice 4K or 8K monitor. So a nice big one, because at the moment I'm using I was using 2 monitors, and the laptop was like the third one. So I was using all 3. And I found that really handy. So I'll have Outlook open in one. So on my laptop, I'll have Outlook open, and then the other 2 are like together. But now I'm back to just the one monitor at home with the laptop and one monitor at the office. But I'm looking at getting a nice wide Dell monitor. I've seen a few. They are pricey, but I need to pick the right one. That's what it is. So that's on there.
Okay, so you've got an expensive wish list.
It is expensive. I can't think of anything else, to be honest.
Mine's quite simple, really. I do my Amazon wish list at the moment these days. I've got the only thing that I've got on there, which is, I'm just having a look now, that's tech related, is, in fact, I've got the Apple Magic Mouse 2, because the one I've got is the current battery powered one, and it chews through batteries pretty quick. So I've kept it on my wish list just to see if it drops down in price, and then I'll get it. I mean, it's not that expensive at the moment. It's down to 66 at the moment. Just to have a rechargeable one. But otherwise, my wish list is all like DIY stuff. because I'm yeah, over the past like year I've been really getting into DIY and like, just feel like having this massive collection of tools in my shed.
Yeah.
So I've got all sorts of power tools on there and sanders and different saws and blades and all sorts. So yeah, I just sort of check it every couple of days and just see if anything goes on sale, and then you know, prices drop, and then I'll just purchase those. But in terms of like tech wise, the only thing I need to purchase at some point is I do want to get a subwoofer for my speakers, because the bass response on these Alesis speakers isn't great.
Right.
It has a switch on the back which allows you to do a bass boost, but I've got that switched off. I don't think that I should have to turn it on. I feel like if I'm turning the bass boost on, I'm making the speakers work too hard, and I don't want to do that in case, you know, that's not good for them long term. So they do have a subwoofer output. So I just but Alesis don't actually do a subwoofer that goes with these speakers. I don't think they do one at all, in fact. So I'm doing a bit of research. I'm looking for some recommendations on a subwoofer that I can just stick sort of under my desk or somewhere near my desk.
Cool.
So that'll give me some nicer sound. I think that's pretty much it really in terms of tech wish list. I haven't really got. Yeah, I'm quite happy with my desk setup at the moment. I don't really need anything else. So yeah, if you want to buy me some tools, you can.
I've got a contact actually.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit then. All right, good stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it on the list of topics really. Have you ever used kit.com?
Kit.com, no, what's that?
So it's basically a site where you can create these kit lists. So you can, I've got a couple that I've created on my profile, and you can just basically talk about the products that you use in that kit. So I've got one for my desk setup, and it's just got all the products on there, and then it's got links to, you know, places where you can buy those from, whether it's Amazon or, you know, directly from vendor and stuff like that.
That's handy.
And it's generally for like, the website's aimed at content creators really. So you got a lot of like famous YouTubers on there, people like Marcus Brownlee and, you know, Casey Neistat and stuff like that. Neistat, I don't know how to say his name. And they just share, you know, their gear basically. And then I've got another kit on there which is for podcasting, the stuff I use for podcasting. So if anyone else is like interested in podcasting and they want to see, what does another podcaster use, well, here you go, these are the actual products that I use, and then links to go and buy them if you want.
That's handy. Yeah, that's cool. I'll have a look at that.
So you could always create one on there, and then we can stick that in the show notes.
There was this someone tweeted it yesterday. It's called Sizzy, and it's a website. And it's essentially, well, it's not a website. It's a browser, and it's a responsive browser, and it's aimed at developers. So you might have heard of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it. They started off. Well, I haven't seen it recently. I know they started off as a mock-ups tool where you could put in a URL and it shows you how it looks at on different screen sizes, like media queries. Is that the same one?
I think it is. Yeah. But so now they've got an actual browser which you got to pay for it. It's not that expensive, and it does everything within there. I'm not too sure how it syncs with your existing sort of like dev tools, but it'd be interesting to see how that all sort of works together. So I think I'm going to pick that up this weekend. I'll just download it and see how that works, because I think it's handy just having that, using it in dev tools, and just get a headache switching.
Yeah, it's nice that you can see various breakpoints all at the same time, and they're all in sync. Like as you scroll in one, the other scroll as well.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really handy. So I think that's on the list of new tools.
So £5 per month for a web browser. When
you can pay for it up front, right? All of it. You can pay for a year's.
It's billed yearly, so it's a subscription model. It's not a one-off purchase. So it's billed annually.
I think we'll check it out. We'll just get hold of it.
All right. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. I think we're pretty much at our time now. So there's nothing else on the list. So is there any last words? Anything you want to recommend for this week?
I don't know, guys. I think the best thing to do is just go out there and just pick up anything new with regards to development, and just give it that extra 5-10 minutes. Like I learned myself this morning, all I needed was another 5 minutes of research and reading, and you get a task done. So anything out there you pick up, just get through it as much as you can, but spend that extra 5 minutes on it. I guarantee you'll get your task done.
All right, cool. I will speak to you in the next episode.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend.
Take care.